do the same thing because I'm on the West Coast.
Okay, here we go. I think I got
Yeah.
it, y'all.
So I'm 3 hours difference.
Yeah, so I got to do it face it because I'm in the car driving. I can't let my girl down.
Okay. Okay. Hey. All right, y'all. We live. We live. All right. Hey. Okay. All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's yours truly, Tammi B. And listen, woo! This show was this close to being canceled. I have had challenge after challenge after challenge. But you know, one of the things that I say about what we do here with Real Talk with Tammi B and Company is life will propose challenges, but you continue to press forward through them. So you can't give up. You got to keep moving. Life don't always allow the edit and the perfections. And I promise you guys that tonight is that night and we are going to move forward. So I see the chat. So hey, my chat guests, and just know I apologize, technical difficulties, but we are here. Yay! And so listen, I am going to give you guys your official greetings and say good evening, beautiful people. It's yours truly, Tammi B. And I want to welcome you all and thank you so much for joining another session of Real Talk with Tammi B and Company. Again, where we're recording live so that you can actively engage in the conversation via the YouTube chat. And as always, I am extremely grateful for you amazing people being with us this evening, along with my peeps. Now, listen, time zones have been one of the challenges today. My man Shelly Sims, Mr. Shelly Sims, see, he rushing to get his name on. He didn't even spell his name right, but Mr. Shelly Sims is with us. And because y'all know Shelly is always somewhere, he East Coast, West Coast, worldwide. He on another time zone tonight, and that's why he was running late. So hey, Shelly.
Hello, hello, and let me first apologize for being late. And I was rushing and spelled my name wrong, and apologize for being faceless because I'm on the road. But I definitely wanted to be here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. And thank you, and bear with us, bear with us.
Hey, you know, as always, I appreciate you for being here. So I just thank you. Even when you on the road, you are here. Listen, Troy, he has a different background almost every week. Okay. I think last week he was in Illinois.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been hectic. I've been everywhere, man.
but but he stayed faithful to the cause. He stayed faithful. And to our special guest this evening, Mr. Troy Roberts, I want to say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you so very much for
I
giving me the
appreciate
opportunity.
you. And listen, Troy is also on a different time zone too. And
Yeah.
actually he's 3 hours behind because he's on the West Coast for real, for real. So when I'm like, are you going to join? He's like, oh, your time, huh? I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
because your time would be my peeps would be in bed. Cause you know, especially if we get a little older,
No,
we
I get
start
it.
shutting stuff down.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, yeah. It's all working out. It's all good.
It is, and even before I start, like I gotta thank Troy because Troy jumped in at the last minute. When I tell y'all, I had two shifts tonight. Like my original guest presented a topic and said that they could talk on it, but then at the last minute was like, I don't feel comfortable talking on it. So okay, scratch that. Got another guest and had all the information, and then she was like, oh, that was tonight. I was like, okay. And I literally just got Troy a couple hours ago, and so I just got to thank him for jumping on. Thank him, and thank you to the person who referred Troy to me, because they heard actually, and it works out because last week we had a sex doula online. So when the person was like, well, you had a sex doula, I know a birth doula. I was like, oh, okay. So put me in contact. So I'm going to give you guys some information about Mr. Troy, but I also want to ask, if you're not part of our community, please join us by subscribing, as we are here weekly at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time with new content. And I want to give a shout out to our girl, Cola E the Great. She's not with us because she's celebrating a birthday, and she is at the Mary J. Blige concert. So happy birthday, Cola. If you get a chance to see this video. And we are at the top of a new zodiac. So, Taurus is the season right now. So shout out to all the Tauruses that may tune in to the broadcast. So it's y'all time. And one of my closest friends is a Taurus. So I already know y'all claim the whole month for real. Yeah, this is y'all month for real. All right. So before we get into our icebreaker questions, I want to introduce to some and present to others Mr. Troy Roberts. And let me give you a little bit of background about Troy. So even when I read his bio, I was like, oh yeah, this is a great person to have. Because one thing I know, who's supposed to be here is here. I'm big on that. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Troy. Troy is a passionate advocate, community builder, and heart forward healer with over a decade of dedication to empowering families and transforming lives. Originally from North Carolina, Troy made the leap. Hey, what part of North Carolina?
From a place called Oxford, North Carolina, which most people don't know what that is. So,
what city is it close to?
it's close to, it's fairly close to Raleigh and Durham. I mean, it's 30
Raleigh,
minutes outside
Durham.
of Durham and 50 minutes outside of Raleigh.
Okay, so on the first Wednesday of the month, I have some lovely queens that I have. They're actually located in Greensboro. And they talked to us about the universal laws. They talked about the law of detachment. And in fact, our session coming up in May, I think the top is going to be why you marry you. So that's going to be a good conversation. But yeah, and one of them studied under Iyanla Vanzant. So yeah, I have some real wisdom that takes place on the first Wednesday of the month. So you might want to tune in. Okay, so Troy made the leap to San Francisco in 2006 and hasn't looked back since. Sometimes when you leave home, that's what happens. You just keep it going. From the bustling streets of the Bay to the most vulnerable corners, he's been a constant force for good, especially in Black and Brown communities. Troy's journey is a tapestry of service, from mental health counseling and designing therapeutic programs to guiding families through financial empowerment. Whether he's holding space for a parent in crisis or cheering someone on through life's transitions, Troy shows up with one clear mantra: meet people where they are and walk with them towards growth. Troy, we are vibing on the same frequency there. As a life coach, that's my thing. I know, and a transformational speaker, you got to meet people right where they at. You got to. So today he's turning his deep-rooted passion into impact by supporting birthing parents through doula care, lactation education, and the development of client-centered programs that prioritize dignity, respect, and cultural relevance, all with the goal of improving birth outcomes and closing racial health gaps. For Troy, this isn't just work, it's a calling. And as he continues to build trust and meaningful connections across the Bay Area, he's proving that when care meets culture, community thrives. And when he's not deep in the work of healing and hope, you'll probably find Troy hiking a coastal trail or setting up camp beneath the redwoods, recharging in nature where the stars are bright and the cell service is blessedly weak. Thank you and welcome, Troy. Oh my God.
Thank
Oh
you.
my
Thank you.
God. Thank
Thank you.
you. I
Thank you.
love, listen, love your body. Oh, I mean,
Thank you.
powerful, powerful. And like, there's just like such a connection here. Even when you were charging in nature, anybody listen to me, they know I am big on nature. In fact, anytime I feel out of balance or my blood pressure is elevated, I'm going out in nature. I'm going to stand on the ground. I'm going to hold on to a tree branch. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to meditate. So I love that. I love that. So tell me a little, you know what? Hold on. Before I start diving into your bio, let's get a question on the tape that I think you would be a good person to ask this question to. What's a piece of advice you would give your younger self?
I think I would tell my younger self not to be afraid of anything. I think my younger self was probably a little more, I've always been outgoing and, you know, seemingly outspoken in many ways, but there's a lot of things where, you know, you hold yourself back. You hold yourself back from and not feel so comfortable in your own skin sometimes. And one of the things I would tell my own self, like looking back, you know, hey, you know what? You are enough. You can do this. And there's nothing you can't do if you try hard enough. And sometimes you just got to put in that extra work. And I think, you know, not make excuses about anything, just do it, you know, just do. And so I think that's what I would look at myself years ago and say, you know, because I'm now proven there ain't too much you can't do because this is I'm a rarity, I think, in, you know, the business I'm in. So.
I agree with that. And so in other words, what I feel you did was took the limits off. Because,
Exactly.
yeah.
Silly as the sky.
Exactly. And a lot of people are confined to their circumstances and life and stuff because of their limited belief systems. So when people remove that, and it's not a easy journey, but when you master it, when you really come to the realization that I have been trapped in a box by, my culture, my society, people around me, my environment, when you learn that of yourself and you decide, you know what, the sky's the limit. Come on, I'm flying with the eagles. I don't have time to sit around here with the chickens. And a lot of people get stuck. And a lot of people are not brave enough to take that leap because they when you kind of step out of the box, then you encounter a lot of difficulty and pushback. So I love what you just said. I love what you said. Shelly, you've answered that question before. Do you think you have changed what you would say to your younger self yet?
You know, honestly, what I would have changed, he just said it. So that's what I was going to change it to. My original answer was I always worried that I was going to run out of time or felt I was going to get too old and miss out. So a lot of things I should have stayed focused on, I didn't because I wanted to do the fun stuff. And I always said this saying that we miss out on what we want for what we want right now. So now that I'm older, I realize I have plenty of time, and I'm glad I stuck to it. But just to say agree with him, I also had a lot of limits, and it would took till I was older to take those limits off and achieve the things I want. And I wish when I was younger, I would have believed in myself a little more, and I would have accomplished things a lot faster. So yeah.
Wow. You know what? That's powerful. And I think we all have that story to tell. because when you really step into the power of who you really truly are, then there's a freedom with that. That's why even when the scriptures say you shall know the truth and it shall make you free, and one of the truths is knowing thyself, and when you know thyself, then you know how powerful you as an individual are. And so therefore you take the limits off. You just have to be like, okay, let's go. So I love that, gentlemen. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so before we dive a little further into the talks, because I'm ready to go in, but y'all know I gotta give you I need a little fun stuff, even though it's corny fun stuff, but y'all know I like corny. So y'all know I go from one end of the spectrum. I'm serious when I need to be, and I'm corny when I need to be. And I feel that that's the variety is the spice of life. So today, the fun food for today it's actually National Cherry Cheesecake Day, even though the day is almost over. Oh, you like cherry cheesecake there, sir?
My favorite of all the cheesecakes.
Really?
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's a classic favorite. I had Aunt Betty always made the greatest cheesecake, and it was always cherry cheesecake. So that was always the favorite for me until I met a man named Gregory here in Oakland, and that changed that a little bit because if you meet Gregory got some things that you ain't used to seeing in cheesecakes, and they're amazing. Like he has a banana bread, no, banana pudding cheesecake that you would think would be like, nah, yes, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Ooh. See,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
glad I heard that from you, because if you would have put a banana pudding cheesecake in front of me, I'd be like, I'm straight. I'm straight.
hey, listen, I said the same thing. I was like, nah. And then I tried it
And
and
then
I
you
got
try.
humbled. I got humbled real quick, like, ooh, that first one was like, oh, this is delicious. This is amazing. Like this is really, really good. Like I gotta go back and get some more of that. Like I'm telling you, there's some flavors that the man makes that is just it's unbelievable. Yeah, if you like cheesecake, find Gregory.
Okay, so Gregory is out. What part of the Bay is he in? Oakland, San
He's in
Fran?
Oakland. He's
He's
in
in
Oakland.
Oakland.
He's in Oakland, and he used to be. I used to love to just sneak in, and nobody knew because it was like small mom and pop. But I don't know. He did some Instagram or something, and now you are waiting 20 people in line, especially on the weekend. It's a long one, but if you can get in through the week, go and get you some cheesecake, please, or DoorDash it.
DoorDash.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all
Mhm.
right, Gregory, Mr. Gregory Cheesecake. I have to keep that in mind, because actually I have
Gregory's
a
Gourmet.
homegirl that's out there in the Bay right now. So I might have to tell a girl, bring it back to Kentucky, and then I'm gonna have you send it to me. Send it to me.
Yeah, if you in the Bay, I promise you won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Wow. Okay. All right. And in addition to National Cheesecake Day, today is National Picnic Day. So for you nature, you camping guy, and see, this is where I wish Cola was on the line, because Cola is a camper. Well, I don't know if they do it as much now, but when the kids were younger, they had no problem getting to a campsite. Me, I need a hotel bed, I need fresh running water, but you would have had someone who could have really engaged you on that camping.
I'm all about it.
I see, but that's a good thing. Look, I might need to expand my horizon. I might need to do it. Just thug it one day. Just thug it one
You
day. Give
just,
it a try.
I mean, listen, I can help you. It could be a glorified glamp. We can do a glorified, like a little bit of glamping. You know what I'm saying? Where you got a real nice bed inside, and air mattress or something where you feel real comfortable. Because trust me, I ain't sleeping hard on the ground either. It's gonna be, it's gonna be comfortable. It's gonna be comfortable. There's ways to be comfortable nowadays and still enjoy yourself. And it's like a cookout without self-service. It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I see how you got that where the cell phone service is blessedly weak. So that is a really good way to unplug. I like that because I didn't get your call. I didn't get your call. Yeah, because we need to do that. Do you know, like, in your bio you talk about mental health, and people are that mental health don't really get a break at times, because sometimes the first thing they do in the morning They're waking up, they're picking up, they're on the phone, they're trying to look at notifications, whether it's social media, emails, this, that, and the other. And people don't understand the value of putting the phone down. Like, people get irritated with me at times because I'll put my phone down and I'll leave it, I'll go, I put it in do not disturb, and I unplug. And it's important for my mental health. What about you?
Uh, yes. So I try my best to unplug. Here's the downside. I'm also a gadget person, and the gadgets make it harder for you to unplug. So I got a watch that's constantly going off and telling me something. I got some glasses that's constantly telling me something. And so, and I have several phones. So what I tend to do is, so I have a turn off time at 10:30. All of those phones don't work no more. I don't care who you are. If it's an emergency, I can't save your life anyway. So you're probably gonna have to call emergency services. So your urgency is not an emergency. So the way I see it, I'm gonna find out the bad news tomorrow when I wake up. And so that's sort of how I operate. I'll give you all I got until about 10, and then after that, we not. I mean, unless it's a birthing situation, no, not gonna probably get. Unless you're on my favorites list, and that's my mama, daddy, sister, niece and nephews, those folks.
I got you. And then, so I'm sitting here chuckling because when you say if it's probably emergency, you're gonna need 911 or something like that. People want you to be a part of even that part of the process. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Mm-mm. Save yourself. Save yourself. Like I just bring it up. Like, listen, we got to put these things in boxes. I can't take on all things. I only got so much. So I'm gonna give you what I have, and that's okay. That's it. That's it. I try to unplug. So please do that for
You got
yourselves.
to. So
Yeah.
mental health tip of the day: unplug.
Unplug.
Okay, so it's also National Administrative Professionals Day, which is for the secretaries, executive admins, and secretaries. But it's also National Lovers Day. And this is a day dedicated to love, romance, and meaningful connections between couples. It is a separate celebration from Valentine's Day, which of course we know is celebrated on February 14th. Lovers Day has root in George's Day in Spain, where exchange roses and books. Also, it is National Take a Chance Day. So Take a Chance Day is a day to encourage you to break out of your comfort zone, take off those limited beliefs, try some new things. It's a time to pursue goals and explore interests and step outside your routine. While Valentine's Day is widely recognized, Lover's Day offers another. Hold on. Y'all know what I done did? I done transposed my notes. I done made a mess here. Hold on. The day encourages individuals to take risks, try new activities, and broaden their horizons. People might try a new recipe, sign up for a class, start a new hobby, or pursue a career change. Taking a chance is about stepping outside of your comfort zone and embracing the potential for new experiences and growth, which you all know growth is something we are always encouraging on our talks. So if it's not too late, enjoy National Lovers Day. If not, you got tomorrow. Just make it a hindsight 2020 day. All right. So Mr. Troy. So you're big. Okay, this is the first question I want to ask. You worked across mental health and financial counseling and now perinatal care. What was the turning point that led you to focus specifically on birth outcomes and doula work? Or why did you get into birth work?
It was actually like somebody that had a bigger vision of me than I had of myself, actually. I have been working in families, children, youth, and families for many, many years. And, that's been, sort of where my passion was. And at some point, I walked away because it was just like so much going on. And I was like, I want to try something to have a change of pace. And then this opportunity sort of came up because I had someone else that was like, I remember like how like they liked the work that I've done in the past and thought I might be a good advocate or a good, person to be a part of the birth working community. And it was more so like from a building aspect to build more of a cohesiveness and doing some client-centered work is really what it was about. And then I took it like, what the hell? We gonna have a man doing some birth work. Like, what does that look like? Who does that? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm a real dude. So at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't get this. Like, I don't understand why I would even want to try to do some work like this. And what it kind of wasn't serious until it was serious. Like, I went to an interview and had to have this whole panel of ladies, and I was thinking, there's no way they're gonna hire this Black man be a part of an organization that works, with Black folks giving birth. Like, why would they hire me for that? And I actually did end up getting hired for that, which then pushed me into wanting to know more. And basically, where all of that came from is I wanted to know more about um, birth. What is birth like? What is, how can I support people throughout birth? I know how to support a person, but never throughout birth. That's not something I normally do. And so I ended up wanting to become a doula because of that. That's what led me to sort of become, which is a way different story than most people's, because I had children or I had a bad experience or there's all these other things. And in my case, it was more so because I just wanted to know more, because one of the things that's important to me is to be like very knowledgeable about whatever it is that you want to do. If there are things that you want to do in life, things that you want to be a part of, it only makes sense to me for you to actually be immersed in it and understand it as much as possible, because that's the only way you can actually talk about it. That's the only way you can be a part, like to be able to give the best advice about these things and to help. You have to be a part of it. And so I wanted to go to births to figure out what's that like. I'm never going to be a woman. I'm never going to birth a child. I'm not going to know what that's going to feel like. But what I can say is I want to know how to be the best support I can be in that space. And I think at the time it was like laughed at because people were like, "What? You gonna do what? Why would you do that?" Like even I was saying, scratching my head, like, "You sure you want to do this?" Like, but I signed up to do it and wanted to just see, like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna get any clients. I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know, but that's really where the why started. And at that time, I didn't quite understand what the calling was. I just understood that, hey, this is something that I'm being asked to do, or something that I want to do, so that I know more on how to help specifically for Black and brown birthing people. I was more so about understanding like those folks that are giving birth. How can I possibly be there for them and give them something and be an advocate for them in the ways that I wanted to. And one thing led to another, which is how I got to the point I am now. So really my real why was um, partially out of curiosity, but also due to just really wanting to be able to support moms. And the real big question where that came from was we were looking to serve specifically those that were having the worst outcomes. And when we start looking at statistics and start realizing that the folks with the highest rates of preterm birth were Black women, that was where all of this stuff stemmed from. That was the originating factor for it. And you could look throughout all of the statistics throughout the US where there are Black women, there are high birth rates, preterm birth rates. There's also, when we look at death rates, they're also higher or highest amongst Black women. And so what makes Black women any different than anybody else? Why are those numbers higher? And that's really where a lot of this work stemmed from, was trying to figure out those things and then how we could then also counteract those. How could we make a difference within that? And so some of the stuff that came from this was looking at, obviously it's hard to figure out like, why is it different? But one of the things we know is that we know that the treatment could be different. We know that, a lot of biases exist. And so a lot of things are because we're not being listened to. You're not being listened to. You're not being heard. And that is where a lot of the issues stem from. So that is what led into the advocacy and becoming a male doula, was the fact that I'm looking at statistics showing that these moms, and no matter where they are, Black moms are having a hard time. And why is that? And then that drug into other things. Start realizing the real reason why I needed to be there was because there were no men in there. And what I realized, that there were also, like, it was just a circle of, like, there are very few people who are there to advocate for you at all. But then I also got to see what it felt like to be a man in the room and almost be like not even looked at, as if you weren't even there at all. And so that was also an experience that I got to learn throughout these experiences of going in and going to birth. So,
Wow. So is your clientele like predominantly single mothers, or do you work with married mothers? What does that look like?
so for me, most of the folks that I work with, and from day to day, I don't do a lot of doula work from day to day. I have done doula work from day to day, but the reality of what I do most of the time now is I support folks throughout different types of birth work. So I help folks throughout all kinds of things, from getting into services, or having doulas, or being a backup doula for folks if needed, doing things lactation education. So there's so many different things in which I do that I in ways to help folks, and it could be all kinds of people. See, the thing with doula work is that it requires you to be very available. And there's so many other things that I'm in charge of. It's really hard for me to be very available to a person who is giving birth. So that those things have to be scheduled out. So for me, I can get a few of them a year. That's it. That's all I want to do, because I don't have capacity. I'm not trying to make it a full-time, all-day thing. But
Okay.
part of the bigger stretch for me was more so like being able to get more folks, more recognizing why this is so important and why we need to do this, why more men need to be involved, and et cetera.
So, okay, backing up, doula,
Mhm.
for those who are not familiar with the term, can you share what the term is? And also, is it equivalent to a midwife?
No, it is not equivalent to a midwife. So a doula is a support person.
Okay.
It's a support person throughout your pregnancy or throughout birth. It is not a medical. It's like not medical, so we don't give medical advice or anything like that. We're more so there to support a person, to help them understand sort of what's happening, maybe throughout their birth, helping them to understand like different things that may show up throughout, or helping them like go into like maybe a appointments for them. We do like everybody has different offerings, but basically some of the things that you could do, you might have doulas that do things like massage. They might come and help you just to walk like during your pregnancy. They might come and help you to understand just different things you might need to think about, like helping you to create a birth plan so you're prepared for giving birth. Things like talking you through like, yeah, just any kind of appointments you might have, because you might not understand your OB, or you might not understand your midwife, but because sometimes they don't have the time to sit down and talk to you about all these different things, or they may use medical jargon that you might not understand. So being able to do all of those different things. Then there's also, of course, they're there during the pregnancy itself. Or during the birth itself. So they would arrive at the birth at the during your pregnancy, and be there in the room with you and your spouse or whatever, and they will support you and basically be like a coach throughout that time. They'll also be a person that'll help you to sort of prepare yourself and in all kinds of ways, right? So maybe helping you to stretch, helping you to understand the different types of positions you can be in, getting you comfortable with those things, using the ball, helping you to rotate your hips, doing hip squeezes and things of that nature when you're starting to feel a little bit like this is hurting and I'm having a little bit of pain, or I'm having a harder time walking. So teaching the family members and stuff how they can help you out throughout that time. After birth, postpartum, they're there to help you throughout that, helping you to talk about the different things that might be going on. Maybe they help you go and pick up your child. Maybe they make food for you and your family to help out. So they do a lot of different things. What I like to equate it to is basically what Big Mama used to be. Right. So a lot of this role is something that I think traditionally you had other folks that did in the family. Like, families were a village. And so we had more folks, especially our elderly population, would oftentimes be the ones to come in and help out and show folks what to do, or be there with them throughout their births and after. Right. But those roles have, now not been really filled as they used to be. Our families aren't as big as they used to be. They're not as close as they used to be. And so we haven't had to do this, I don't think, in history. Men especially haven't had to be a part of these types of things too often. And so if you look at a lot of cultures, you don't see a lot of men that are involved in this way. A lot of them are involved in other ways. They may come, they may help out, but normally, as a part of the village, but it's different. And so I think now what we're looking at, and the reason why this is such a big deal, is because we no longer have the families we used to, which changes a lot of things for us, and the way it looks. And so we have to sort of reevaluate the way in which we look at family now and our family structures. It may only be you and your spouse if you decided to have a child now. You may not have, grandparents and stuff like that that really want to be involved anymore. And so you really sort of need someone to be there to advocate for you. And I think on both ends, mom needs help, dad needs help. Everybody's going through something. And having someone that can help you to prepare and plan is really important nowadays, especially.
Wow.
I got a
Go ahead. In fact,
got a
I was
question.
getting ready to ask, did you have a question? Go for
Yeah.
it.
Well, the first one you already answered, which was what exactly is a doula. But I was curious. My oldest daughter, for her child, she had a doula there. How do the fathers take to a male doula? Is that a challenge you've had to experience, or is it normal, or how do you handle that with fathers?
I think you're all like, it's really all in approach. It's all in approach. It's all in ego, and all in maturity. At the end of the day, I think a lot of men aren't used to having another man. Like, so one of the things I mean, and I talk about this a lot. One of the things that was really difficult, even for myself, like I wouldn't have been ready for this probably 15 or 20 years ago, because there's a maturity level in which you have to have, right? We have sexualized our bodies in so many ways that it makes it really difficult for a person to even fathom having a male in the room. Now, here's the interesting part about all of this, right? We say, I just said that, but Tammy, your OBGYN might be a male, and nobody looks at that in any
That's
kind of way,
true.
right?
That's true.
Like there's a lot of OBGYNs that are men, and yet you hear crickets. But as soon as you say, hey, I'm a doula, or I'm a lactation educator, or whatever, right? That becomes all of a sudden like, what? You're a what? Wait a minute. Well, who do you go to see for your gynecology? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, yeah, okay. So I think part of it is just the approach to it. I've had men who were really like not upset, but felt, uncomfortable, I think, initially, until they realized that, like, hey, this is a good support for me. Because it's not just for it's a family support. So
Right.
being able to just to teach this man how to be able to do things like to alleviate some of the stress and symptoms that his wife might be having during that time can go a long way for him. And so if we can get past the whole body image piece, the rest of it is fairly easy. And so I think it really is about, the person and personality. I think when it comes to doulas, of course, you have to vet folks as far as like sitting down with them, figuring out what works for you, and what works for some won't work for others, right? And that might not be for everybody. However, there are guys that are open to that and are very helpful or grateful for having someone that can teach them the things that they didn't know, or to be there to be a support for them in that time. And so, yeah, I think those barriers do come down, but it depends on the person, right? So that's, at the end of the day, I think that's really what it boils down to. But you get both.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Right. I agree. And you said one key word, that ego. That ego can be a strong deterrent or a big factor. So if you can defuse that, then you have success. Because just like you said, you're here to help, right? So.
And ego goes both ways too. So ego is on all ends. So like, for instance, I'm in a lot of spaces with doulas, and doulas have egos. Most of them are females, and they have they have big egos too. And yeah, there's a lot of big egos in that. And I think part of it is because, like, I know you're looking like, what? I'm like, yeah. They have some of the largest egos sometimes, because, like, there's also this piece that I like to say is sort of like social work. So you find a lot of social workers that get into social work because of something that happened to them, something in which in their life that impacted them.
Right.
It's the same thing oftentimes with the birth work. Most folks that get into birth work get into it because something happened to them. They had an experience, whether that be good, whether that be bad, but they had an experience, and that's oftentimes why they get into it. And so when you look at, like, what happens when you go into a birth, you may, let's say I had a bad experience, and I'm a lady, and I had a bad experience, and that's what made me decide to come and become an advocate for others. What happens when I see that starting to happen in a medical setting, and a person's giving birth? That might trigger me, right? I might have some feelings about that. One of the things that's different for me is I'm not going to have that, because I'm never going to be able to have a baby. I'm never going to be able to birth a child. So there are some differences, like ego-wise, when it comes to this work, and so it does happen. You will see it, and so just know it's a both sides thing. It happens on both ends. But so yeah, you have the doulas, and sometimes they get into it with folks, and like it just happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, you got to find the right people that work for you.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right, next question. When you're building client-centered programs for birthing families, what are some of the key ingredients you believe are essential for real impact?
I think number one, giving people what they want. You have to give the people what they want. You don't try to give people something that they didn't ask for because you think it sounds good. What sounds good to me does not necessarily mean it's going to be what you're looking for. So I have to ask, I have to come to you to find out what you want. So that's why it's important to have community governance meetings and things of that nature, where you actually get to talk to folks in the community to find out what they want. I think another thing you have to do is you have to invest in the community, right? So you have to treat the folks in the community as if they are, as if they're like, you have to give them something for giving that information. They are the professionals. At the end of the day, the people in the community are the professionals about the community. So you have to be able to get them there. And the way that you get them there is by doing what you do when you go to work. When you go to work, you get paid to go to work. You should also be paying the people in the community to give you their professional input.
Right.
Simple. So you have to treat it as such. So one of the things in which we've done, and has been big for me the last few years, is making sure that we pay people for their time. Pay people for that time so that they can actually give you the input you need, so you can figure out then how to make those things happen. So I think it's important when you're working in these different communities, how to build what the people want to see and not what you want to see. So that's one of the things that I find really helpful with is getting feedback and not just putting out pie in the sky ideas that not really including the community, and also making choice and change with community. So you have to do those things, and a lot of people say they do that, but then they go and make executive decisions. It is important to go go through community and work with community to make changes you want to see happen. So
Wow.
that's what's been helpful.
You know, I like when you said give the people what they want, because I'm going to tie that even into relationships, right? In relationships, you know, you have two people. One may think, okay, well, the sky is blue, and then another may think, oh, well, it might be purple. And because they don't have that communication together, then all this friction and all that stuff take place. Whereas, like, why don't we find a common ground, or just simply, what is it that you think? And you know what? All right, you're right, it's blue. But some people don't want to do that. They have different perspectives. They I always use the analogy of the half empty, half full glass. It's half full, it's half empty. But what do you want? How do you want to see it? Do you want to see it as half empty? Do you want to see it as half full? Some people don't know how to communicate what it is that they want, or how they expect, you know, to be treated, or something like that, or what they're going to talk about, what they're willing to allow or not allow. And then when someone is doing what they think is what the person wants, come to find out that's not really what they wanted. They, you know, you thought I wanted an apple, but I really wanted a pear, because you didn't ask me. You did it based on your thoughts. And I know I went to China to get there, but you know, so that I like that concept as an ingredient, because people really do need to just ask the question, what is it that you want?
And also listening. I think one of the biggest pieces of this job and of this is being able to actually hear what a person's asking you, right? Like during labor, a person might not be able to really communicate exactly what they want to tell you effectively. They might not be able to tell you because, hey, I'm giving birth during this time. I am feeling some pain during this time. I might not be able to tell you I need you to go and tell the doctor X, Y, and Z. So maybe I might have to be paying attention and listening and looking to make sure that I'm paying attention to what it is you actually need. You know, like, because that's how you get where you're trying to go. You have to listen, and a lot of times people listen to answer, not listen to take in information. You need to listen to take in the information so you can make sure you're understanding what a person needs. So that's another big piece of, you know, being able to serve these communities, is being able to listen to what they actually are asking you for. And maybe they don't have the right words, but being able to then translate that. And most of the time, all you have to do is ask a person, so did you mean, I understood you to say, and guess what? They'll be real quick to tell you, oh no, that ain't what I meant. What I meant was, and you can figure it out. So,
Listen, going back to relationships, that's why people miscommunicate, because one person said something, but the other person heard something different. And so you're absolutely right. It's important to listen. And you did say something. People like to listen to respond versus active listening. And that is a skill we all need. We all need. And of course, with us being coaches and helping people, we really got to have that skill. Like, I've had people, like, I had somebody tell me, you're a really good listener, after I hadn't sat in probably, even though I wanted to fall asleep on them because they was going so long in the conversation, but I was still listening, and I was able to recap what they said. And they're like, you are a good listener. Yes, that is a skill, because in order for me to add value to you, I have to hear and understand what it is that you're trying to express. And so, and then you use the analogy of a woman in labor, yeah, because that could be a whole demon, like, that showed up, like, you know, like the most Christian woman at that point, probably talking in tongues that ain't godly tongues, okay?
yes, you don't know what you're gonna get. It could be anything.
You know, I just thought about that scene from I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. I don't know if you remember that movie,
Yeah, I remember that
when
movie.
David Wayans went up behind old girl, and she turned around. She said, what, you got the devil? She said, no, cramp. So, you know, hey, all
Yes.
those things are gonna show up one way or the other. So, but no, that is good. I applaud you for that. I applaud you for
Mhm.
that. Okay. And Shelly, jump in if you have anything.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening. I do got a question as far as your doula. Is there such word as doulaing? Doulaing? Like,
You hear that? Is it
okay.
a is it a real word? But yeah, dueling is.
Okay. Okay.
I hear it comes out a lot.
All
Yes,
right. I won't use it
my
then.
spaces.
But
No, I mean like people use it all the time, so it's not
okay.
like
Okay. So let me ask you, with you being a doula, is there is it like an a la carte service? Is it packages? How does that work?
there are. So there are different doulas for different types of things, right? So there are all kinds of doulas. You guys said you talked to a sex doula recently, right? So you're like you have that. You have you have pretty much you have like your prenatal. You have your postpartum doulas. You actually have doulas that death doulas. You have um, there's honestly there's probably 10 or 12 different types, and all of them deal with different things. Some people like just dealing with the prenatal portion. They like to deal with like prior to birth. Some people like to deal with the birth itself. Then some folks like to do the postpartum stuff, and then there's the morbid piece of sometimes like everybody doesn't make it. That's the reality
Right.
of the situation. And so you also need folks also need to be held during that time. And I a lot of times people don't really think about there's some similarities in that when we talk about birth and death. Those things, there are actually some similarities in the way things work. In the sense that, like, when you have a death in the family, you know how everybody comes together and they bring, food and all the stuff, and it's like almost like a celebration in some respects. But that lasts
Yes.
for about 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, people forgot somebody died in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now the family's still grieving. The family is now just starting their process of grieving because, hey, you might have been occupied for 2 weeks, but now you really are having that I'm by myself moment. Having a birth is sort of similar in the sense that you have this birth and it's a wonderful time and everybody comes over, brings their little stuff and take their Instagram photos. Let me get my shot with the baby, and then 2 weeks later, you by yourself.
Mm.
You and the baby, or you and your other children, or you and your husband and your other, whatever it is. You have more isolation now, and people forgot you have a child, and you probably really need some help. That's what a village is needed. You need to rest. You got to think about what a woman is being asked to do during this time. You're being asked to take care of yourself. Number one, you're being asked to take care of this new child. You're being asked to take care of maybe your other children and be a family member. Also taking care of your spouse. Because guess what? He gonna be nudging you, talking about, hey, what about me? What's up with me? I mean, we got the baby and all, but baby, what about me? Like, so you're being asked for so many different things at that time. It is important for that person to have some sort of support, and it may not be like once again without a village, that spouse might not just be able to do it all. They also might still be working and might not have paternity leave, and so there's all these other things that could be the factors that are happening, and so folks really do need support. And this is what my goal is, to build villages.
What is there anyone you specialize in? What is your niche?
So for me, right now, I don't do as much as I'd like, but what I'd like to be doing is more like full spectrum from start to finish, because that's another type. So that's what we call full spectrum is everything. So that would be start to finish, but you could also do others. For me, I don't necessarily have a specialty. My specialty nowadays is more so building programs that can then address these different things. And but I would like to get back into doing more doula work and meeting with more families and having more of that. But it's about a capacity thing. Like for those that do this full time, it's different because that's their full-time thing. That's all they do all day, every day. For me, mine is more building, and then I take some here and there where I have the time to be able to handle those folks and be responsible with being there. So that's the bigger deal for me. And I've been thinking about postpartum because I really like, being able to support somebody after. The only thing is, a lot of times the offering with that would also come with like cooking and that kind of thing. Now, cleaning, I got you all day. That's me. I got it. I can run in there. I can clean all day. I can go take care of the other kids. I can do all that other stuff to help out, right? But when it comes down to the cooking, do I want to go cook for somebody else all day? No, I don't know how I feel about that yet. So anyway, I'll try to get there though. That's a goal of mine.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I can't even say I would want to go cook for somebody. Can I order you takeout? Like, can we order DoorDash? What you said earlier. But I do like what you just said too, like everything you said, but the village. And it would be nice if we could really heal a nation and bring the villages back. Because it's clear it does take a village. Back in the day, what they say, you get in trouble at school, the teachers could be what you don't want the people now because they have other things going on in their head, so you don't want them hitting your children. But but back then when community was a thing, the teachers got you, the parents got you, the neighbors got you. You're like, God dang, it's only so much I can take. But I really, one of my desires is that we do find a way to bring the villages back and the community back. And, it really starts with each and every one of us. And it's hard right now, especially when our country is so divided. So it's like to try to fight your way back to a community. It seems impossible, but I'm a firm believer with God, all things are possible. So, but it would be nice if, we can bring the villages, because you're right, mothers should have support. I remember with my first child, I did something with the bottle, with cleaning the bottle, and I burned my hand with hot water, and then all of a sudden the child crying. So here I am in pain, and then the child is needing me. So, and there was nobody home at that time. So it was just like, so I totally can relate to what you're saying. Definitely. Okay, so do you remember a moment when you realized just how important male presence is in spaces like birth work and community healing?
I think I've had a plethora of those times, right? It used to be I was not confident in it, and I felt like, what are you doing here? Why are you here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized is this: it was. I'll give you an example. So a lot of times I hear people, especially in our spaces, right, where we'll say, "Man, part of the reason why we have all these political issues is because we got all these old white men sitting in our, in here making all the decisions." And you know what? It's true. It's the truth. Part of the problem we have is that you don't have a reflection of the population when it comes down to our Congress, et cetera, right? However, it's the same thing sometimes with our birth work, because the only people that are in those birthing spaces are women. That's it. And the problem with that is you're not getting the other side, and there is another side.
Right.
Like, despite what you want to say, there's another side. You can't, we're not, we can't procreate by ourselves.
That's true.
So with that being said, we're not asexual. So when we have to look at it from that perspective, there's somebody somewhere on the other side of that coin. And the more other voices we also have in these spaces, the better, because we're not, part of the reason we're not understanding each other is that rather than leaning into each other, it's almost as if we're just staying in our same little comfort zone and our bubbles. we have to get other folks involved so that we can then be more full and fulfilled. And I think that's what I started to recognize over time was that it is important to hear male voices. It is important to see Black men show up in these spaces.
Yes.
It shouldn't be a thing where I feel uncomfortable being in these spaces. We should actually be embracing that, because and I've had some seniors be, tell me like, hey, look, I really don't necessarily care for men being in these spaces. And I understood, I respect the elders. But what I would also say to them is, and they respected this, how when you gave birth, would it feel better if you had someone, if your husband had known how to love on you, how to take care of you, how to be there to support you during that time? And nobody yet could say, nah, it wouldn't have been better. Everybody says, yeah, of course. So if that's the case, then why don't we train up the men, and why don't we have more men in these spaces? Because here's the thing. I know I'm not the only person that has a father that and their father didn't tell them nothing about this stuff.
Right.
We didn't have these conversations. Men haven't had these conversations with their children. They typically don't. This is not something that we've had access to or been inclined to do or any of that. And I think this is a time where we might want to start looking at how we can be more involved and making people feel more comfortable with being in these spaces. And that includes making sure that the pictures and stuff that you have on walls look like reflect the population, including having some men there, and then not just be some single mom there, like, because that's not what we want to see. I mean, we want to see families. We want to see people stay together as best as possible. And I get that it's not always going to be ideal, but it is nice that if we can, because we do want to make people feel inclusive and make them feel like they can also be there, and that we're wanted to be there, not like, oh, I'm a burden because I'm there. So I think those are some of the things that I am, really a big advocate for, and this is why I try to go so hard to show myself in some ways, and in some ways I'm totally shy. Like I totally like hide away in some ways, but I'm in a lot of spaces. So yeah.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Shirley, any comments before I go to the next question?
No, I'm just go ahead.
Okay.
Learn.
All right. So I'm curious about this one. What kind of responses do you get from other men when you share the work you do? And how do you navigate those reactions?
It's kind of funny actually, because like a lot of the men, to my surprise, and it is a real surprise, they're actually really interested in the information. So
Mm,
I was thinking like, like they would be like, what? Oh man, that's some, whatever. But I really don't get those types of reactions from men. Most men are really interested because they want to know more. Like, hey, how could hey, what can I do like to be able to support my woman? Like, hey, well, let me ask you a little bit about this. Or they might want to know something about like lactation or something, right? Like, and I that's another one where people are like, why are you like, oh, you talk about lactation? Well, yeah. You know why? Because I realized that not only did I not know, which shouldn't surprise nobody, but neither did the people who were giving birth. And then I started saying, wait a minute. We can't all not know what's
right,
going on. You know what I mean? We
right.
can't, like, you can't be giving birth and not knowing. I got to know this. And so then I wanted to know more about that, which led to that. And where I found it being really helpful, and men ask a lot of questions about this stuff, but yes, I can't do I want to be able to feed my child, right? With my chest. However, what I can be is a wonderful advocate when my lady is tired, when my lady wants to give up, when she says, I'm done. I can't do this no more. The the people that are at home are going to be the supports for this person when they're at home. Right. So if I can get this, if I can get the spouse ready and train him up, he can be a wonderful advocate to make a person go from wanting to quit every day to making it all the way through to whatever that goal is that they have set. That's bottom line. Bottom line. So if we can figure out how to make that happen and work with one another and get more, that's why it's so important to have all sorts of folks, because like that is what men respect, the fact that they want to know more. They are very engaged. Oftentimes when I start having these conversations, I get very few men that are like, oh, I don't want to know anything. Most of them want to know a lot. Hey man, so what's that like? Um, and they got a lot of questions. They really do. They want to know more about like how do I support my mom, my woman or my sister or my and you can teach them. You can like they're very engaging. But I mean, it may also be the energy and stuff that you give off. I'm not sure that every person can pull it off. I'm just not. I'm not. But what I can say is I've never been disrespected or felt disrespected by somebody for having these conversations. Most of the time, people lean in because they just want to know more, or they want to tell you about their own family birthing story, where my wife gave birth and this is what happened, or or my sister gave birth and this is what happened, and so they want to know more in that way.
Wow. And as I'm listening to you speak, like all I'm feeling in my spirit, yeah, this is a calling for real for him. Because I hear the sincerity, I hear the genuineness, and I I love it. I love that you're operating in this space because I can see where initially, like, and you kind of mentioned it, this was intimidating to enter a field like this, but yeah, but I can see the value that you're adding. So I applaud you. I applaud you because
Thank you.
that's big. Because you have some with your heart, but then let's just call it out what it is. You do have some that if their spirit or their energy ain't right, then they would get into it for the wrong reasons. Then they disrupting stuff, if you know where I'm
Right.
going with that. So,
Right.
the fact that, you do maintain a level of standards and integrity and you operate in the spirit of excellence, I'm feeling that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So my
Yes,
next
it is
step,
hard. Getting
I
it
know
was hard.
it has to be.
Yeah, getting it
I
was
know
hard.
it has to be. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say no, it was really hard getting into it because like that acceptance piece is big. That acceptance piece is big, and getting because it's such a new thing that so many people are like, what? You do what? Why? Who would let you come into their room? Like, like you get all of this, I'm telling you, you get all of it, you get all the smoke. And so it also requires you to be thick-skinned. It also requires you to reflect. It also, and like one of the things I try not to do is I try not to take up too much space. Because at the end of the day, this is not really like I'm doing something bigger than me,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want to respect the ladies in their entirety. I have more respect for a woman now than I've ever had in my life. And I say that because after you've seen a birth, after you've seen a woman give birth, you have a different level of respect, or you should,
You should.
for what's happening here. And I remember this is it's gonna sound messed up, but I remember kind of snickering in my mind, like when people would be like, "Oh, it's such a rite of passage," and they would say this stuff, and I would be like, "Yeah, okay," like because I'm such a guy, right? But then I remember like actually going and understanding how important that was. Like when you see a person giving birth and this child coming through this birth canal, and you catch a baby or you cut an umbilical cord, or it's the most amazing thing, and you're like, oh my God, this is truly like this is a rebirth. This is something new. This is a new you, but this is a new me too, because I just seen something I hadn't. I mean, even if I seen it on TV or something, it is not the same as seeing it in real life and holding a real life in your hand. It's different, and it's no different now. Like, and I think it changed the whole perspective, right? Not just for that, but also like even now, like where I can actually feel good with being called Unc. Okay, Unc is a rite of passage too. It truly is. It's something we should value. And I say this because I think it's important to say to folks, we need to embrace where we are. No, 40 ain't the new 30. No, you 40. Like, right? And be 40 and be confident in 40. Be
Yes.
able to say, like, yo, I'm Yes, I am. And I love it. I love it. It's a rite of passage to make it there. It's a rite of passage to be able to say I'm grandma. It's a grandpa or who, like, and we need to say those things. We need to not throw those things away because those are rites of passage. So if I say to one of my elders, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, don't shun nobody for it. Actually embrace it. Embrace it because it is a rite of passage to have it. And I now understand and respect it in a way and that I never did before because I now understand why people say that. I understand what it requires to be there, to make it to this point. And I think it's important to name it because if we throw those things away, this is why our community is thrown away. Because we're throwing away all the good and bad traditions. And some of this stuff is really, really important. It's important for us to be able to have people we consider uncles in the community, people we consider grannies in the community. Big mamas is super important. And not many people want to sign up to be big mama no more. They don't want that. I want to be little mama. I don't want to be big mama. Don't call me. Like, but it's important in the community, right? Big mama could get you together.
She good. She good.
Yeah, she bring the whole community together. That's what's important. So
Yeah, I've always said that people need to start embracing their age because not only is it needed, it's actually a good feeling when you know you are providing something for somebody. Like you said, nobody wants to be or none of the women, especially, want to be grandmas anymore. Everybody wants to always be 29 or something. But back in the day, that was the power, knowing that you not only had someone to go to who had the knowledge and experience for you, but also as a grandma, I could imagine how wonderful the feeling is knowing so many people need you for their survival. And even me, I guess I'm an old man now. I never ran from it. I was always glad, and it'd be so many of the little homies or my daughter's friends. It'd be like, hey, how do you do that? How did you do that? That feeling in itself is better than any feeling. It's better than trying to stay young and hang with them. And that's the reason our community is in disarray, because no one has no one to go to. Everybody wants to be on the same level. And if you remember, Tammi, I said that last week, everybody's not here to be king. Everybody's not here to be the best. Everybody, we all have our roles in life, and too many people run from their roles.
Exactly. What I told you, the man said, some people here to eat grilled cheese sandwiches. So let the people eat their grilled cheese sandwiches.
Exactly.
That, if that's what they hear, you don't know. And it's so funny that you mentioned the unk thing, because I had somebody just say something to me the other day, like, man, when they started calling me unk, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, embrace it. Don't cut your beard because you being called unk. Like, it is what it is. And hey, I don't have a problem telling my age, because my whole thing has always been, it's people that don't reach my age. So, but the older generation, because I have an aunt now, like, she's in her 80s. Don't ask her, she's part of that generation. Don't ask them their age. Don't ask a woman her age. Well, you definitely don't ask their weight, but don't ask the age. And that's something that has been programmed into them. And when you really look at it from, okay, I'm probably able to say that I'm 54. I'm 54. And it's a lot of people that don't make 54. And even when I was 40, just like you said, when I was 40, it's some people that don't make 40. Like my dad, his life ended at 30. I think it was 34, 35. So you just don't know. So instead of you not appreciating your age and embracing who you are, every day is a gift. Value it. That's why, in fact, I'm listening to the 7 spiritual laws of success, Miss Sylvia. And they say that's why today is the present. Embrace the present. You know, the past is history and the future that's to come. But you every day is a present and it's a gift. And you to be present in the moment, you to be appreciative of the moment and make the best out of it. And that's why you're supposed to say thank you every day that you are here. Every day. Because there are many that even laid down that did not wake up. But a lot of people like, oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting this. And one thing I learned from the book The Secret, one of the things that I learned, you can say you're aging in reverse. So instead of saying you getting old, say I'm aging in reverse. So therefore, my mantra is I'm like wine, I'm getting better with time. Now, you know, the body may sometimes not want to fully agree with that, but I'm gonna bring it into alignment because my words are powerful. I get to speak life over me and my circumstances. And that's what others have to realize within themselves. So embrace your age, embrace who you are. And someone just put in the chat, age is of value in the African community. And I could believe that. It is of value. All right. So any more questions or comments before I move to the next question? This is some good stuff, Troy. Thank you for being my ram in the bush today.
I'm glad I could be here.
Okay. So how can we create more welcoming, affirming spaces for men, especially Black and Brown men, to step into the roles of nurturing, support, and care?
I think I talked about this a little bit, but I think part of it is just, for one, you just got to get people who are willing to do this work. You got to get people who are willing to step up and do it and still be their authentic selves, right? Like, and that takes a whole lot of that takes a certain type of person that can be able to put down your ego and be able to get into these spaces and feel confident and comfortable with bringing folks in. And I think that's not something that everybody can necessarily do, but it's very, very important that we do have folks because nothing makes you feel more welcome than finding people that look like you, right? Right now, one of the things I typically work in is racially concordant care and making sure that the care in which we're getting is are people who resemble you, people that you feel familiar with, right? And it should be the same when it comes down to having men in spaces. We need to have photos of men in these spaces. We need to have photos of families in this space, in these spaces. Nothing wrong with having, just, mom and child, but you also have to represent all these other things too, because that's not what we're trying to just represent. And I think it's important. Families are important. It's important to have folks be together. Yeah, and I don't know. I think about it now. I'm like I'm a better version of myself, the best version of myself today than I was before. Like every year I feel like I get better. Like you said, fine wine. But I think in order for us to get these men involved, we have to make men feel that this space is something that is comfortable for them, something that is also wants them there and wants them to feel comfortable as well. And I don't think a lot of men have a lot of spaces where we get to do that. A lot of men hold in a lot of things, and I think this is also why we die early, is because we don't end up like over time. I mean, I marry you, I end up being all about you, and I have less and less of my friends over time. And so what ends up happening is I'm always stressed the hell out in my mind, but I ain't really like, I don't have nobody to go to. And we don't tend to talk that much as it is. Like we don't tend to, like we talk surface level. When you see guys go out, we talk surface level stuff. We don't talk about real stuff. We don't talk about what's really bothering us most of the time. We talk about football, baseball, some sports stuff, something like that, some car stuff, something like that. Maybe some good looking woman that just walked by. But we ain't really talking about like real stuff. The fact that I'm having some real hardship at home. The fact that my bills are more than I can handle. The fact that I'm stressed out because I'm dealing with all these other things. We don't talk about that. And so men don't have necessarily a space where they can open up and therefore, and be vulnerable. Because that's another thing. I mean, if you're a vulnerable man, then you're a weak man. That's not true. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
But that is how you looked at. Like, so and that's been like a traditional thing, which is why you get these rock hard men in some respects that never really let their guard down or allow themselves to just be and be vulnerable. So I think we have to create more spaces that allow that welcome that. And I think they also need to be, we also need to have spaces where we're all together and having real community conversations in community. So
wow. I was getting ready to say something, but somebody put in the comments, tell your business and your business gon' tell, TAILU. But you know what? We honestly need to, everything you said is like so spot on. We got to create safe spaces. As a matter of fact, I got Shelly working on getting a group of men together to come on this platform. And I would love to have you come back and be a part of that conversation. I think I gave Shelly the date. I think sometime in May. But many, and it may even be something that I may do more periodically, because I want you guys to talk. I want you to have that community, that brotherhood, that, non-judgment. And I feel society has played such a big role in that separation, whereas people can feel comfortable because their mental health has been under attack forever. And when I say that, you got to think, people weren't taught to, especially in our community, wasn't taught to express themselves hundreds of years ago. That could get you whooped, that could get you burnt, that could get you hung, something like that. And so that behavior has just trickled down throughout the generations. So until that is really dealt with and healed, then nothing changes. And then you have some women, you said something that was so true. Being vulnerable is not weak, but you have some women that think that if a man is vulnerable, if he cry, he a weak man. And that's not true. I feel that's where the biggest strength lies, because then you're in tune with you. You're telling your truth. And it's sad that when you say that y'all come together and y'all talk shallow stuff, there's no work in shallow conversation. There's no healing in shallow conversation. Even it went with women. And it's interesting that women, and I know because we're emotional, what they say, Venus, Mars, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, that still only becomes what I would call a thought form. And that's a thought that has been formed, that has been passed down. But the narrative can change. I believe the narrative can change. And it starts, what does Michael Jackson say? The man in the mirror. It can start with each and every one of us. That's why, going back earlier, what did you say? What is it that the person is wanting? What needs to take place? How do we have conversations? Okay, so I'm being asked, saying you got to define vulnerable. You want to help me with that?
Maybe. For me, vulnerability is being able to live in to express yourself in an open manner, and that could be it could look a lot of ways. But being able to just be able to express yourself and be honest with who you are, where you are at the moment, how you feeling at the moment, being able to just express yourself, and I think a lot of us aren't able to do so. Not in a real way. You find a lot of avoidant behavior, not a lot of folks that are willing to be really upfront and open and about who they are, where they are, and yeah, I mean, or the pain in which they might be feeling, the hurt in which they might be feeling, which is why a lot of, I've had a lot of women think that men are emotionless. They're not. They just tend to not show in the same way. And then there are also certain ways in which we show up that is just different for us in general. Like, I'm not going to do a lot of time, spend a lot of my energy on something that I can't change.
Right.
I'm going to spend most of my energy on things that I can. So rather than sit and cry about whatever this thing is, I ain't gonna sit and dwell on it. I'm okay. I can't do nothing about this, but what I can do is I can do something about that. And that's kind of my mindset. I know there's a lot of guys around me that also think in the same way, and we just kind of we just move different. We are different. There are some differences amongst folks, and that's not to say that all men are the same, because we're not a monolith, and neither are women. But there are some differences in the way in which have been socialized in our society and throughout the world. And we're supposed to be so masculine and strong and never vulnerable at all. And therefore, when you are, you can also sometimes be looked at upon as being weak. And that's not like you said, that's not something that we should be looking at as weak. We should actually be it's actually a person that is confident in themselves to some degree, to be able to show you that and be vulnerable in front of you. And honestly, it's one of those things that's also like, hey, I got enough confidence in you to be able to be me, and allow myself to be emotional in front of you. And I think that, but that gets misconstrued. So.
Wow. Powerful, powerful.
But I think it all boils back down to people embracing their age. I think when we were younger, we had aunties and uncles and grandmas and grandpas to go to. So when I was a teen or in my 20s, my uncle would take me fishing or whatever we did, and in a one-on-one time, I'd be like, this girl's doing this, or I can't seem to get tracking in this part of my life. So we had that. Nowadays, with nobody wanting to be the uncle or the auntie, or men and women both do it, but wanting to be young, there's no one to go talk to. And like with the men, we listen, and the women, we listen to the same music as our kids. We play the same video games as our kids. The women are not necessarily competing, but competing with the daughters, probably in the same clubs, dressing the exact same. So there's no one to turn to that's an uncle or auntie or grandma or grandpa that has lived it, and you could turn around and ask a question about life. So that's the safe space right there, is knowing you have someone that on a higher level than you, not trying to do the things you do, and has experienced life, that you could run and talk to. And we don't have that no more, because like you said, everybody want to be young. And even with the men are so into trying to compete with one another, where, like I said, when I was growing up, I could go to my uncles or I could go to my cousins my age and be like, man, this girl got my nose wide open. And it wasn't embarrassing. He'd be like, yeah, you got to do this, that, or the third. Nowadays, everybody wants to be so tough and so young. You don't open up on them questions. So the conversation stays shallow simply because of that. Or for the women, the conversation is 99% about men and money. So I think that's the main problem, is people got to learn to play their role where they're at in life and accept it.
I agree. Somebody put in the chat, Bobby Hemmett said that small talk is European style. And this is around the time when we was talking about the vulnerability, when you were having that conversation. Wow, this is some good stuff, guys. This is some good stuff. Okay, so in your experience, what are some misconceptions men have about showing up emotionally for families, and how do you reframe that?
I think I've had a lot of different, experiences with men. And honestly, I think more than anything, I just try to reassure men. Try to reassure them that, like, hey, look, at the end of the day, like, you can be yourself. You can be vulnerable. It's okay to say how you really feel. It's okay to say that this is not something that you want. It's okay to just be honest with you. And people will respect that a lot more. And I think sometimes there's people just need to just know that, like, it's okay. It's okay to disappoint. It's okay to not be whatever everybody's view of you is, to just be vulnerable and be able to just be yourself. And it's so much easier when you can live in your truth and make life easier. makes life easier because you don't have to go and try to make up something. So just be living your truth. And so having these conversations with men is some of the things that, you know, I like to talk to men about. It's just being able to be yourself and be able to express yourself in some vulnerable ways. And, you know, hey, when you're struggling, being able to name it. Listen, I'm struggling with this, or I don't understand this, and be able to take this to your spouse, be able to take this to your family, or having accountability partners. So that's one of the things that also is, you know, part of the village for men is having accountability partners and stuff like that that you can go to for different things, and having a circle of folks that you can rely on that aren't there to judge you or aren't there to compete with you, but are there to hold you down when times are tough, or when you have something you need to run by somebody. Having a group that or folks that you can go to for these things, and not having to hold it all in and hold it inside, because you know stress and anger kills.
Yes.
And if you hold it all in, you just sitting here and you're just a balloon just filling up until you pop. So being able to lean in that way is some of the things in which I try to do for folks, and to try to by being vulnerable myself, is I think helpful for men too, because like when you can when they can see somebody else feel that way, or someone else can be somewhat vulnerable, then that also allows folks to also feel a little more at ease with being vulnerable themselves, and showing up for their families. So
Nice.
simple.
Nice. Love it. Shelly, you was gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that that vulnerability or the space he's talking about, it comes from knowledge. Like the beauty of him being a male doula, and how he was saying men kind of gravitate to him having questions, is all based on knowledge. You feel better as a man when you know why you're doing what you're doing. So just in regards to him being a doula, if I'm a man and I'm in my ego and I'm trying to be big and bad, and I don't think I need to be holding a baby or going to warm up the breast milk. If I only had the knowledge of, okay, this is why women go through this, the baby needed at this temperature, that takes away the ego when you know why you're doing it, or the knowledge in it. So I think it's more so based on knowledge and certain words. I think we need to stop using. I think men need to stop using the word vulnerability, because it is a feminine word. It's not. We're not being vulnerable. We're being knowledgeable. And your knowledge is great, because even me as a single parent, I had my baby at 4 months, and no matter where I went, my baby was with me. I still have fun. I still, did whatever. And me having that knowledge, it was so many men from my neighborhood that they might not have had custody of their kids like I did, but say they had to babysit on the weekend. I would be amazed, young in the hood, gangbanging, how many dudes would call me and be like, "Yo, Butter, I got my baby's this," and I never would clown them like, "Oh, you got your baby." It was like, "Oh, that means the baby's this. You just need to do that, and then look at the way the baby look at you." And they'll call right back like, "Man, I did that. I didn't have to call my woman or nothing." So it was the knowledge. We need to be taught that the significance of why we do what we do, or the significance of why it takes two, or our purpose with one another, or our role in the community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I still think you can include vulnerability in that, Shelly. I don't think you have to take vulnerable.
I mean,
vulnerable.
See that, but see, that's the problem. You don't have to take it off the table. I'm not saying that, but that's a female word. Most men, when you say you get vulnerable, they automatically see it as an attack on their ego, when that was never a word we used. So it's the power of the tongue, and the Bible speaks of it. So you have to use words that are empowering. And what it takes to empower a man is not the same that it takes to empower a woman. So the way you talk to people will also determine the outcome, or the way they accept or learn the knowledge. It's like using the word weak. No man wants to hear he's weak. If I sit there and tell my friend, "Oh, you being weak," he's going to take it personal. But if I sit there and tell my friend something like, "It's okay to to not win this battle, or you know, you can't, like people say you can't win them all. That always felt better than saying, "Oh, you lost." So it's wording when it comes to men.
Let's agree to
There
disagree.
is. I mean, I think that there is, you know, that there is that. There is that, no doubt. How I know this, you know, I'm a man, but at the same time, I think that's why it's also important to have a community of men,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll have a person like me that might reach or and be able to reach you, or you might have Shelly who can reach you, right?
Right.
So it kind of like, if you have a network of folks, one of us can reach you in a different, maybe in a different way. You know what I mean? Maybe my words didn't settle right with you,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody else's did. And this is why we have a community of folks, right? Like, this is why it's so important for us to have all of these different
Mm-hmm.
perspectives and be able to communicate about them all, because for me, like, you know, generationally things change too, right? So, you know, some things, like for instance, skinny jeans are okay with the young folk, but
Mm-hmm.
the rest older, no, we ain't with that. So like, so it's
I do.
sort of
You
like,
need to tell some of these old men that, because there's still some walking around here with skinny jeans on, and they need to take them off.
But
Go ahead.
that's 1,000%, like he's saying, is correct. 1,000% why we need people to embrace their age, so there'll be more of us in the community that have the knowledge. So like he said, if he doesn't reach them, I might be able to, or your other brother might be able to, or you know, the man down the street on the corner. We learned a lot from the bum hanging out on the corner, because he had been there and he had a different approach to it. So like he said, we need all of us to do it, which will require all of us embracing our age and our knowledge, where there's a variety of places for men and women on the woman's side too.
Okay, is it embrace age or embrace wisdom? Because you can have wisdom and knowledge, and it's not necessarily have anything to do with age, because it's some old fools out there, excuse the term, but let's just call it what it is. There are some old fools out there, and then there's some wise younger people. So I hear when you say to embrace the age, and I do, you know, but however, I kind of have to say I just feel everybody that is their age is not really their age per se. Because also we're in a world full of broken little kids in adult bodies.
But that comes from not embracing your age. When you embrace your age,
that comes from some broken places in their life that they have never really healed. And so that little kid made it to adulthood. And so this whole time, people have been looking at an adult in a kid in an adult's body.
But you got to remember, it never made it to an adult. It stayed a kid. So if you embrace
their body is an adult.
That's irrelevant. We're talking about knowledge or wisdom. So if you embrace your age growing up, your age cause you to do different things, and doing different things and going through different phases and stages in life, you learn more and you learn different things. So you acquire wisdom and knowledge. If you hit 21 and you want to stay 21 until you're 31 and you only do 21-year-old things, you won't have that knowledge. So you won't have a story to tell, or you won't have anything to give. So you will be a little kid in a grown man's body. So just because you look like a grown man don't mean you are a grown man. So that's why I say embrace your age, because what I did at 21, one thing I posted is the most dangerous place in the world to be is where you were last year. So what I did at 21, I don't want to be doing the same thing at 24. So when I hit 27, I don't want to be doing the same thing I did as 24. So each phase of my life is a different level of learning. So that's why I say embrace your age, and your knowledge and wisdom will be embraced with it. But if you don't do that, and you, like you say, as grown men still in, nothing's wrong with it, still in skinny jeans because they want to look like the kids. They haven't embraced their age, so they haven't learned nothing, so they haven't acquired any new knowledge, because they're learning from people younger than them instead of learning from people older than
them. Gotcha. I guess Shelly, somebody in the chat, Mr. Corporate T, agreed with you, and he said, I agree, deers are vulnerable. So but I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna disagree with both of y'all. And I what I don't know what part this was at, because you know there's a delay, and then we was talking. Man, y'all was dressing zesty in the 70s, so I don't know what zesty is.
Hey, we was dressed zesty in the 70s, but when it got to the 80s, we changed it up. So that's it. We grew. We grew. And just in here, Tam, I'm gonna say this, and I don't want, I might get myself in trouble.
Yeah,
That's
you already on thin ice.
I already know. That's the other problem. The mic and the spotlight is always on women. So women are always telling men what they should be and how they should be doing it, and a woman's never been a man to tell them. So you can't say I disagree what a man should do, or because you're not a man. But it's so many men that don't have fathers. All they have is women to listen to. So they pick up women terms, women knowledge, and now, as you said, women clothes and these tight ass clothes. He's my friend.
Okay.
Or they want to say I'm vulnerable, or men is using zesty. That ain't how we talk. But it comes from only women in our lives, so it's only natural we pick up women's behavior.
Okay. All right. Well, so somebody put in the chat, vulnerability comes from the Latin word wound, bonus. Vulnerability is the state of being open to injury or appearing as if you are. So that's all we're saying. You're saying it's a woman's word. This is just saying you're showing up as who you are, your truth.
Yeah,
That's what
we're not
what?
Latin. We're African. If that,
Shut
we're
up,
American.
boy.
We're not Latin. That's their word. And that's how they teach their young, and their young aren't our young. We're a warrior culture, so that don't apply to us.
You know what? I need cola right now because it's about
Hey,
to be me go back and forth with you.
I'm taking
I'd rather
advantage
let
of this.
cola do it.
Yeah, I'm taking advantage of her being gone because she has showed me on my helmet. So I'm taking full advantage right now.
Exactly. So you have fun with this because you wilding, but I'm gonna let you have it.
All right.
I'm gonna let you have it because I'm sitting here like, okay, all right, Shelly. So even whether it's Latin or whatever, I still think men can be vulnerable. And now somebody put every generation got their own slang, just how people in the 40s wasn't using jive turkey.
Agreed.
All right, touche. Okay. Do you think mentorship plays a role in getting more men involved in this work? And who mentored or inspired you?
I'd say definitely mentorship helps because we do have a lack of men. We have a lack of we have a lack of men in this space, but we have a lack of men, free men in the U.S. in general. And so Black men, especially, I'm talking about Black men. I ain't talking about everybody else. And so like real talk, I mean, all the stuff we're talking about right now, I mean, the reality of the reasons why we don't have is because, you know, we've been picked apart for years, right? Like, you know, it is nothing to see, you know, heavy police activity in our neighborhoods, et cetera, and constantly like looking for something. And so like, it's interesting for me when I talk about this stuff is because when I go into these spaces, of course, we like we were talking about a lot of, you know, it's all about women, you know, and it should be, right? Because you are the one giving birth. But it's almost as if you forget that everybody has problems. Those are definitely problems, but we also have a lack of men problem too, and a lot of men of, you know, being caged for all kinds of reasons, oftentimes not for anything major, but you know, you get a felony or F on your report card, as I like to call it, it can really tear your life apart. So when we look at the lack of uncles, the lack of, you know, father figures and fathers, a lot of it has to do with all of these, you know, the mass incarceration of our men. And so I look at all of these things saying this is why mentorship is also important, just because we don't have as many men present as we, real men present as we'd like to have or we need to have. And so I think it's important to like try to teach in all kinds of ways, however we can reach them. And the younger, the better. Because if you can teach them young, then you give them a chance, a fighting chance. It's harder to teach an older person, some new stuff. Like it's really hard because you're stuck in your ways. And so if we can start reaching these, young kids before they actually get to the point where they're looking to have children and stuff, and we can start teaching them and not be afraid to have conversations about what it looks like to have, to give birth, to be a good father, and in so many ways. It doesn't always have to be talked about either. It could just be led. Sometimes a lot of stuff you learn from just watching and observing. So to just be out, you could be a mentor without saying a word. You could be a mentor by just being, people are watching and being your best self. So yeah, I definitely think it's super important to our community.
I agree. I had a thought, and Shelly know I sometimes them thoughts come, and then while I'm waiting my turn,
I'm sorry.
No. I want to hear what you have to say. What you don't came off mute. What you about to say, Shelly?
No, I was just gonna say. I always tell you, don't cut us off before you forget your thought. Now I always say that.
I know you do, but I'm not gonna do that because I want to hear what you guys got to say. But wow, this was some good stuff. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Okay, well, while you're thinking, I was gonna add on to what he was saying.
Please.
As far as the mentorship, not only do we definitely need more of that, but all this was done by design. If you think about it, when we were younger, we had so many summer camps, summer after school programs. We had the Boys and Girls Club where we were around men. They've taken all that out, so there's nowhere to go for men, for young kids to get captured at a young age. So how do we go about reestablishing that, or places where that everyone knows is a neutral place you can go have fun and still get mentoring?
Right. They need to bring that back. But you know what? We need to create it. That's what I'm gonna say. We need to create it. And yes, Miss Sylvia, I agree, ma'am. I do need to write the thoughts down, but my multitasking skills aren't the best when I'm trying to still hear what they say, but I do need to do it. Sometimes I can do it, but yes, no, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate the wisdom. So you mentioned hiking and camping. How does spending time in nature help you show up more fully in your work with families?
I think what everyone needs to do, and most of us are like, one of the things we don't tend to do a lot as a people is we don't tend to get outside. And like it's super important for many, many reasons, right? Just getting the vitamin D you need, from getting that sunlight, right? Like all of those things are just super important in itself. And so like being able to just be one in nature, being able to like disconnect from all of the worldly things. And it's crazy because hey, I live in Oakland and there's a lot going on around me, but like you can drive 10 15 minutes and be in the woods and be up in the hills and hit some trails and just get away from everything. You don't sometimes you don't even really hear what's going on in the city no more. So like it's important to disconnect and ground yourself. And so what it does for me is to just be able to just kind of think or to not think. Sometimes it's not thinking at all. Sometimes it is just simply just being, just existing, and not having to, nobody can contact me. I ain't got to deal with all the extra, whatever you got going on ain't my problem at this moment. This is me time. And so it is being able to just really just disconnect from all of the worldly things in which we all connect ourselves to. And oftentimes these things are the things that are driving us crazy because you think back I think about like back when I think about my grandparents or, growing up, and you think about how like, yeah, they talked on the phone when they wanted to talk on the phone, but they talked on the phone when you called them at home. And now, you're talking on the phone throughout all your day. People, you can't even enjoy the bathroom because somebody calling you. Like it is very you have very little breaks away from the world nowadays. There's so much invasion of privacy, including everything that is listening to me now. Every device in here is listening to me now. There is no disconnect. So going out in nature, taking hikes, taking walks, just observing. One time I did like a exercise with a group where we went out in the community and just went and took photos of the community, things that you found beautiful in the community. And you realize how many things you walk past or ride past every single day that you never paid attention to. The bush that's flowering over here, or the tree that's huge and burned out over here that looks crazy, but like you never really paid much attention to how beautiful it really is. Like there's so many things that are right around us that we never take the time to even just take in. I think it's beautiful to be out and stay out in nature too. A lot of us don't do that. I understand that. But like being able to get out and do that is such a beautiful thing, because just to be able to disconnect, imagine having your family reunion, so to speak, or a big cookout with your friends, and you just getting to sit and chat with one another without all the extras, without people buzzing, just being able to just really engage with one another. And then when I'm tired of engaging, being able to just go and lay on a hammock or something and enjoy yourself. Just be away. Just be. That is what I love. And I love to be able to walk away from all of life and being able to just be. And whether that mean read a book, whether that just mean listen to some music, whatever that is something that I don't think we experience enough. And we are always on goal mode. We're always trying to save somebody. Save yourselves too.
Yeah.
Save yourselves. Somebody got to pour into your cup. And if nobody is, then pour into your own cup. Pour into your own, refill your own cup. Just go and recharge, get away, recharge. And we have to do that. And I don't think we talk about doing it enough. I think we talk about vacations and stuff like that, but a lot of times we really don't. It's so busy and bustling, you don't really take the time. So being one in nature is really important. And I hope more people can find ways to do so. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like you just tugged on my heartstring. You did. Cause in fact, I even see people put hearts in the chat. They love what you were saying. And that is so true. Because at the end of the day, we're made from the earth. We are. So we need to spend that time, that connection. Like I said earlier about what I do to stay out. Well, I didn't say it to you, but my purpose behind it is to stay off of hypertension medicine when I do the connecting to the earth and the tree, because trees pull negative energy out of you, and that helps with your blood pressure. And so when you really think of those things, those are things that haven't been taught, but now knowledge is there. That the device that we unplug from, it can also be useful because you can get knowledge to help better your quality of life. And that's really what you're saying when you're saying to get out in nature. And almost any motivational speaker, any expert that is in the mental health industry, that's what they're saying. Give yourself that space for your
Bring
well-being.
nature with you. Yeah, and have nature with you. Nature can be with you anywhere. You don't always have to leave. House can be nature. You see, I had grow lights behind me. That's why I was so bright. The reality of it is, making your environment as well that you stay in from every day, greening it up, being able to feel like I probably have some of the cleanest air in this place because I got like 80 something plants in here. Like the reality of it is being able to just, no, this ain't for everybody. Trust me, that's for real life. There's a lot of work there. But what I'm saying is like being able to have that within their own home, even if you can't go outside, you can still have it within your own home. Adding a plant can go a long way for you. It doesn't have, like just maybe you can't get out in nature all the time, but can you take a minute to do something different? Can you? I have essential oils right here beside me right now at all times. When I'm on meetings, things of that nature, I got my diffuser going, and I'm smelling different smells throughout the day, changing it up when I need to. When I need to be uplifted, having that. Being able to just do those things can go a long way. And one of the bigger ones that is so easy and you don't even need anything for is to just be able to sit and take yourself a couple of deep breaths. It doesn't require anything special. And that can change everything. That could change you from having a bad decision, making a bad decision, to making a really good decision. Just taking that moment to take a step to think something through, because it only takes a couple of seconds to make a bad decision. But if you could take that same couple of seconds and breathe before you make a decision, that can change everything too. And this is what we teach pregnant people to do all day. Breathe.
Wow. Wow. Even when you get in like going to the chiropractor, or if you get in physical therapy, what do they tell you? Breathe, breathe. But yeah, it breathing does make a difference. Oh my God, Troy, listen, like I said earlier, who was supposed to be here is here, and I am so thankful that you like we got this together in the matter of what 5 hours. So
Yeah.
we did this.
Yeah.
We did this. And even because I don't even think I told y'all, like, even my camera didn't want to start working tonight either when I got on. So that was another reason we was delayed. But you know what? It came together. This message was extremely powerful. And so I say thank you. And now I know you don't do a lot of advertising. I think your business is word of mouth, but if people want to contact you or desire to have more information, care to share how they can do so?
I would say emailing me at troythedoula at Gmail is the easiest way. I do, keep up with that. I do have IG as well, but I don't use that stuff. So that's the funny thing about me. I don't really care for it. And I'll tell you why. The real reality of why I don't do that is because when I started doing the birth work thing, I didn't want people to think I was in it for like some self-gratification. I'm not doing it for self-gratification. I don't get anything out of it. I do it because I really enjoy what I do and I love it. But I don't do it for that. I'm not out here trying to like let me beat on my chest or something. That ain't it. So and that's why I didn't do it initially. But now I'm gonna try to do better with it. But the reality of it is for me, yeah, if you want to get in contact with me and know more about what I'm doing, because I do so many different things, so many different I'm in a lot of different spaces where I do a lot of work, but I tend to not advertise it that much. You can definitely reach out to me at troythedoula@gmail.com. And I also do have the IG as well. I just don't, I'm not on it a lot, but I'm going to do better.
There you go. He's gonna do better. Well, thank you for that. And Mr. Shelly Sims, any final words for the people this evening, sir, or any services you care to tell them about?
Well, I got a bunch of them. One, I was just going to reiterate on the outdoor part of it because, I'm from Colorado, spent there my whole life there. And there's no greater feeling than being outdoors. And it's a scientific fact that when people just even look at trees, their pressure goes down and it releases a lot of positive endorphins in your body. So the outdoors is good, especially like as a kid, even thinking back, I don't even hear kids talk about Ballarat no more. Like we were always had to be outside. So it's very important to get out. Or even my kids, we like Colorado's number of mountains. So every year we take all the kids up to the mountains. And in the beginning, all the kids hated it. They was like, no, we ain't going up to the mountains. It's boring. It's for them other people, et cetera, et cetera. After 1 year, every year, all the kids are like, are we going up to the mountains again? Are we going up to the mountains again? So it is definitely necessary and a wonderful thing to partake in. So I do suggest everybody sit down and get that oxygen to the brain. That's why breathing is so important, because you need oxygen. On a personal note, you all know, for any real estate needs, definitely reach out to me. You can catch me at Shelly_Solutions on Instagram. So definitely look out for that, or request me for anything real estate. Dog wise, at Pooch_Pastries, we do custom dog treats for everyone. All that good stuff. So reach out, add me, get outside, and read a book. That's it.
Good quote wrap up on that, Shelly. And in fact, I'm in the process. Y'all know I'm always on the go. So reading is not my thing, but listening and getting the knowledge. So, and it's crazy because I was thinking about it today, like, oh, how is it? Which one that I'm saying to say I'm listening to psycho-cybernetics when I'm in the car, but when I'm in the gym in the sauna, I'm listening to 7 spiritual laws of success. So I am getting a whole lot of knowledge, but that we need it. We need it. And you need it to be able to apply it. Because one thing in life, if you get the knowledge and don't do anything with it, it's really useless knowledge and you can't do anything with it. But, so I make a conscious effort to, take in this information, apply it to my life, share it with you guys. Y'all know I am always sharing information with you because I want all of us to grow together. I want all of us to elevate, to, tap into our power, tap into who we are. Because when he said it's a village, it is a village. And I feel as we build community, we can make things happen. And so to that point, Mr. Troy, I am going to invite you to the men's panel that I am putting together. I think I want to say I said May 21st. So I'm going to confirm and let you know. So you put that on your calendar, because I would really love to have you be a part of that. Shelly gonna round up some men, and we're gonna have a safe space to allow men to talk. And I really want everybody to hear. And I want people to really start want to live in their truth and share their truth and identify with how you feeling. Because you said something earlier, men hold in things. That's why they die young and this, that, and the other. And listen, we want our men to live an extremely long time. So I want to do our part on that. Okay, so Troy, any final words for the people before we bring this to a close?
My final thoughts are find ways to love on yourselves, take space for yourselves, recognize that you are enough. You can do things. There's nothing holding you back but you. And I think, just take some time out, take some space out, take some deep breaths, love yourself. That's all I can tell you is love yourself. Make sure you do that self-care and loving yourself, and don't just talk about it, be about it. Be about it. Be about loving yourself. So if you do that, I think you can go a lot further, and also keeping an open mind, and understanding, try to understand where a person is coming from. Not always just being able to just give something back, but understanding why a person might be struggling and where we can help, and we can help each other as brothers and sisters, how we can love each other. We don't have to always like what each other has to say, but we can still love on one another, and there's ways that we can show up for one another. So be your best.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, with that, with much love and gratitude, I just want to say thank you, Shelly. You are such a soldier. You ride with me. You like, for real, y'all. Shelly couldn't even come off camera because he's in another time zone, and when that happens, he forget. He looking at their clock
Yeah, you know, charge it to my age and not my heart.
Okay, Shelly, I'm
Appreciate
gonna let
you.
you have that one. I'm gonna let you have that
All
one.
right,
So,
all
but
right.
he is a soldier. So, Shelly, thank you so much. And again, to our girl Cola E, she's celebrating her birthday. Hope she had an amazing, amazing birthday. And again, if you are not part of our community, I invite you to subscribe to receive future notifications. And in fact, my guest next week, she's launching a book. I gotta make sure no changes have occurred, but she's launching a book titled "Don't Eat from White People." So that's gonna be a really good talk. And she shared some things with me that even about history that I didn't even know. And I was like, oh wow. Okay. So I'm looking forward to having her on the show next week. So subscribe so you'll know when we come back. And also the first of the month, you guys know I put up the mental health session, planting and or watering. So we're coming up on the first of the month. So that'll be coming up soon. And also please support us by giving this video a like. Wasn't this a great show? It was an amazing show. And Troy was just like, he was it you wouldn't even think that this was rushed because he came in like a champ. He was like, just breathe, you good, we got this. So he was a champ, and the gems he dropped were priceless. So thankful for him, thankful for you all viewers. You know, you are the best part of Real Talk with Tammi B and Company, and I cannot thank you all enough. And I do ask, give us a like on this video. And so now I am going to leave you guys with this quote. It says, rumors can make you dislike innocent people. Don't judge people off of what others are saying about them. Be wise, get to know them for yourself, then form your own opinion. The one talking to you may be the one you need to stay away from. All right. So listen, be mindful because you know people will spread and they will say just their projection thing, but use wisdom in all things. What does the Bible say? In all things you do, get wisdom and get understanding. So get understanding about situations before you form judgment. All right. Listen, peace, blessings, stay amazing. Have a great rest of your night. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, Troy, you were awesome.
No, you were awesome. You did that and you was worried about it, and look, it worked out. Wow. I was like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great.
Your
Don't worry.
doula activity, your doula energy.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm telling you, it's gonna be great. Like, cause every single time, I like things just work out. Things work out like they're supposed to work out. Always, always. They just do. Sometimes it don't feel like that at the time. We don't understand, but like in time,
Listen,
it worked
and
out.
you want to know what's so funny about this little pep talk you giving me? Because for a minute there, I said, now didn't I pray today? And then I meditate, because I meditate. I left that out of the conversation. I meditate. I start my morning. Look, I get up. When you talk about those essential oils and stuff, I get up in the morning and I turn on my diffuser and I light and I think my diffuser has myrrh, and then I light a frankincense incense. And so I do my prayers and I meditate and I set my intentions for the day. Oh yeah, no, I'm big on this vibration, this frequency, this spirituality thing. So when all this craziness, I'm like, didn't I pray? Didn't I set the intentions? What is going on? But just like you said, one of the mantras that I do have, and I'm sure, I don't know, you may be familiar with Neville Goddard. He's a mystic back from South Africa, and he teaches on the law of attraction. And one of the mantras that he gave was, everything is working out for my highest good, and out of each experience, good will come. I am safe, I am guided, and I am loved. And I say that. So you right, everything works out for me and everything that's taking place. So
it's all great. That's part of the wisdom that was being talked about, is that, you know, that's part of our wisdom, is that we over time you have to go through things. You have to go through some things in life in order for things to get better, like in order to understand and appreciate them. And so yeah, times get hard, times get rough, things happen, but like look at us. We made that happen. I think we're still alive too, by the way, but
we
I think so. I thought you had cut it off, but I don't think so. But at any rate,
oh my God. Why is no, it should not be live. Lord have mercy. Okay, let's get off the Zoom then. All
all
right,
right.
but definitely come back. I'm definitely gonna confirm that date, and if you're available, I would love to have you on that panel.
I'd love to make it. If I can be there, I'll definitely try my best to be there.
Okay, I
Okay.
appreciate you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Good
you. Thank
night.
you. Good night.